Let's talk about California, the state that has folks split between love and hate. The Golden State has those sunny beaches, flashy Hollywood stars, and the nerd herd in Silicon Valley that are pretty much running the universe right now. But hold on to that Botox appointment, because there are plenty of reasons to roll your eyes and say, I hate California. This hasn't always been the case. For over 150 years, California was what everyone wanted. They wanted to strike it rich. They wanted that lifestyle. Over the last 5 or 10 years, that's all changed. Every state has its positives, every state has its negatives. For a lot of people, the negatives really started outweighing the positives in California. In this video, we're diving into all the reasons why the Golden State might feel more like a tarnished state for some of you. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 15, air pollution. The air quality in California overall is about average, but Los Angeles' air is so bad it gives the entire state a bad reputation. I grew up in the Los Angeles metro area. It is a little ridiculous. Los Angeles' air pollution is like a daily game of guess the skyline. One minute you're basking in the glory of distant mountains, and the next you're squinting through a murky haze that can be mistaken for an Instagram filter called mud. One of the biggest complaints, though, that people not from California have is the air quality, and that's because most of them will end up in Los Angeles. It's a giant city with a lot of people and a lot of visitors every year, so that gives them the whole image that the state's air quality is trash. For the longest time, they blamed it on cars, which cars do play their part. Fossil fuels getting into the atmosphere does, it creates smog. But a recent study found that the leading sources of particulate pollution in Los Angeles is cooking, not just from your house, but from restaurants, things like that. Other top sources include residential heating, road dust from vehicle brakes, and tires. Not just car exhaust. And that's one of the biggest complaints people have and why they say they hate California, the air quality, when in reality, it's really just Los Angeles. San Diego's ranked 25th in the nation, and the San Francisco Bay Area is 17th in the nation. Los Angeles, number 4 for the worst. Number 14, the drought. California's drought has become so legendary that they're even moisturizing the cacti in the desert. In a state where avocados are practically currency, the lack of water is making everyone reevaluate their life choices, like whether showering is truly necessary. People are jokingly suggesting that California's new state bird should be a tumbleweed that rolls across the parched landscape in search of a drop of water. Many people say that California's got a drought, but then the mismanagement of the limited water resources the state has makes it even worse. Chronic droughts and water management issues have led to water shortages and restrictions impacting agriculture and daily life in California. The worst drought in California's recorded history, based on both severity and duration, is often considered to have occurred between 2012 and 2016. Now, that's the reputation, and that's why a lot of people hate California, all the drought restrictions. That being said, the last 2 years, they've had what are considered wet and above average rainfall. So it's helped a little, but they're definitely not out of the woods. Some of the restrictions have been pulled back a little bit, but I'm sure they're going to be right back at it in a couple of years from now. I hope not. It'd be great if water just started flowing through California at above average levels, but we all know it's going to be right back to drought status in a year or two. Number 13, the crime. Yeah, people hate California because of the crime. They've got some legendary cities that have some serious crime issues. Compton, California, South Central Los Angeles, Oakland, California, Stockton, Fresno. California's got some crime. Now, one thing I always remind people, Compton isn't as bad as it used to be, let's say in the 90s. It's not great. It's definitely not as bad these days as its reputation is. Crime is the one thing that can turn a sleepy neighborhood into the set of a low-budget action movie. Case in point, a couple misfits, who clearly never passed their stealth class, attempt to rob a local bakery. One of them trips over a bag of trash that was right behind the counter as he jumps over the counter to, get at the register, trips over the bag of trash, and gets tangled up in the donut display, and eventually gets foiled by an elderly lady wielding a pipe wrench like she'd been training for this moment her entire life. The other genius tried to make a quick getaway, jumps in the car and realizes the clown that's getting his butt kicked by an old lady with a pipe wrench has the keys. this event really happened in Los Angeles. California's crime has shown an upward trend in both violent and property crime post-pandemic, with significant regional variations, obviously. The bigger cities, you're going to have bigger crime. More people means more problems. Cities like Oakland and Stockton have extremely high violent crime rates, while regions like the San Joaquin Valley have some of the highest property crime rates in the nation. Number 12, the high energy costs. Yeah, there's a lot of hatred going around about how expensive energy is in California. This has forced the residents to do a lot of things, like get solar panels, windmills on their property, air conditioners that are so weak you can fart colder air. It's like all the residents are competing in the Olympics, but instead of a gold medal, what you're chasing is a slightly lower electric bill. Every time the energy bill arrives at your home, it feels like you're getting a love letter from your utility company, except this one comes with a steep price tag and zero romance. So the residents of California are living in the dark and sweating in the summer, but when the winter rolls around, they have so many layers they're like a human onion, all in the name of saving a few bucks. In 2024, the average residential electricity rate in California is around 30 cents per kilowatt hour, significantly higher than the national average, which is about 18 cents. This makes California the second most expensive state for electricity following Hawaii. But in California, so many people put up solar panels and they didn't have a bill. They were actually making money off their electricity by selling it back to the grid, that the power companies ran into a problem. They weren't making the profits they were expecting to. So they got together with California and said, hey, we're not going to be able to give everyone bonuses like we wanted to next year, so we got to get some more money out of these people. They came up with a flat fee that regardless of your solar panel situation and how much money you were saving, they still wanted you to pay a bill. It was like, started off, it was going to be $57, now it's proposed $24. Even if you use zero electricity, you got to pay $24 a month. Number 11, the wildfires. So why do people hate California because of the wildfires? Well, that air quality doesn't just stay above California when half the state's on fire. It goes everywhere. A couple years ago, I took a train from Oregon all the way down to California, Los Angeles actually, and the whole way down, it was just orange, and it was for fires going on, mostly in California, but we had some going on in Oregon and Idaho, Washington also. It was ridiculous. Well, that floats out into Colorado and Utah, Nevada. California wildfires are like that one annoying relative who shows up uninvited to every family gathering, and instead of bringing a nice casserole, they torch your backyard, steal your oxygen, and then leave a trail of ash and destruction in their wake. People hate them because wildfires have a knack of turning scenic vistas into smoking wastelands faster than you can say fire season. They get so bad in California, you want to start wearing a gas mask during fire season. On average, California experiences about 7,000 to 8,000 wildfires every single year. Some of them are very small, some of them are giant. For instance, in 2023, there were 7,000 wildfires that burned nearly 325,000 acres across the state. The frequency of wildfires can vary significantly year by year due to the various factors including weather conditions, vegetation dryness, and human activity. Number 10, the traffic. California's traffic is the ultimate test of patience, like trying to teach a cat how to fetch. Like I said, I grew up in Southern California. I used to have to drive the 405 freeway during rush hour a few days a week. And if you don't know, the 405 at rush hour travels about the speed of a sloth on vacation who just had an edible. While you sit there in traffic, going 5 miles an hour for over an hour, you start to question your life choices. California's traffic isn't just a commute, it's a journey into the absurd, where time loses all meaning and sanity hangs by a thread. Los Angeles consistently ranks among the cities with the highest level of traffic congestion globally, not just in the United States. Drivers in LA spend an average 119 hours per year stuck in traffic. The San Francisco Bay Area also experiences significant congestion, with drivers spending around 97 hours per year in traffic. Number 9, the Hollywood hype. There's a small portion of the population that believes Hollywood, the lifestyle, and Hollywood, the place, are something you'd want to experience. Here's the thing, neither of them is real. Hollywood, the place is a shithole, and Hollywood, the lifestyle, is an illusion. And a lot of people realize this. Normally it's the logical people. They just know what it's about and they know it's just nonsense. You don't go to Hollywood and walk down Sunset Boulevard, pop into a cafe and see Johnny Depp and Mel Gibson having coffee with Abe Vigoda, or at least the ghost of Abe Vigoda. He died in 2016. Now, the hatred for this one normally comes after people have visited Hollywood itself. Many visitors that do the hike all the way up to the Hollywood sign say it didn't live up to their expectations. The whole area around Hollywood is a traffic nightmare, and everything in there, it's souvenir shops, street performers, and often feels inauthentic and geared more towards profit than genuine culture and experience. Believe it or not, at one time, Hollywood did have a lot of culture. Now, if you were to learn about the history of the city and the lifestyle back in the day, let's say prior to 1950s, it's pretty interesting. But when you actually go to Hollywood and you realize it's just a bunch of BS and it's expensive and it's just kind of scummy, you start to hate the experience and you start to hate California for it. Number 8, the homeless. California's homeless crisis is like the second cousin who crashes on your couch for a few days, quote unquote, and then ends up staying indefinitely, eating all your snacks and replacing them with off-brand ho-hos. With tent cities sprouting up like mattress stores, it's as if the Golden State is hosting an unplanned, endless campout. You know things are serious when Google Maps takes the homeless camps into consideration when giving you directions. The American dream used to be to buy some real estate and call it home. Now everyone's just hoping not to land on Skid Row in California. The homeless situation has gotten so big in California that that's all people bring up when you talk about California, politics and the homeless. As of 2024, California has the highest homeless population in the United States, with approximately 171,000 homeless individuals, which represents about 27.9% of the national homeless population. Number 7, California's taxes. Yep, everyone thinks California has the absolute worst taxes. They're up there, but they're definitely not the worst. When you look at the total tax burden by state, New York is the absolute worst, followed by Connecticut, Hawaii, New Jersey, and then it was California. California, just this year, caught up with New Jersey. And the reason behind all these high taxes are things like the high cost of living and services, public infrastructure and social programs, environmental regulations to combat climate change, debt and pension obligations, and of course, healthcare costs. These factors collectively contribute to the high rates, which are necessary to maintain such a big state. Now, another one that kind of feeds into the taxes because it comes with regulations, and another reason California is so hated, it is considered one of the absolute worst states to own a business or to run a business. And raising the minimum wage to $20 an hour didn't help things. Number 6, high real estate costs. California's housing prices, the stuff of legend and late-night comedy routines. Imagine selling your soul, your firstborn, and maybe a kidney just to afford a cozy one-bedroom shack in San Francisco. Need a backyard? Better start playing the lottery. And let's not forget Los Angeles, where a fixer-upper means 4 walls in a dream. Welcome to the Golden State, where the gold is actually your mortgage payment. As of April 2024, the median home price in California is approximately $852,000. That's an 11% increase from last year. The San Francisco Bay Area remains the most expensive region with a median price around $1.4 million. The Central Valley is a little more reasonable, being $493,000. Los Angeles metro area is $840,000. That's about a 13% increase from last year. And if you go way up north to the middle of the state, right around the Oregon border, you're going to find the average there is about $364,000. If you have a heart condition, I suggest not going to look for homes in California. Number 5, income inequality. California's income inequality is like trying to mix caviar with hot dogs. One end of the spectrum is sipping champagne on a yacht, while the other one is just hoping to remember to pack a lunch. You've got Silicon Valley tech moguls designing the future with their self-driving cars and AI butlers, and just a few miles away, people are commuting in cars that seem to run on a prayer and duct tape. In California, the top 1% earners saw an average income rise of $2.3 million to $3.6 million between 2019 and 2021, while the middle income earners experienced a stagnation or slight decline in their earnings during the same time period. Number 4, politics. California's politics can be a bit like a sitcom where all the characters are trying to run the show, but nobody knows where the script went. Imagine a place where traffic laws are stricter than movie ratings and a pager salesman has better job security than the governor. Honestly, every governor since the 1950s has faced some sort of recall. Most don't get past the signature phase, but there's an attempt every single time one's elected. It's so bad Hollywood stars run for office and sometimes they win, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. The whole thing's ridiculous. It's like watching a circus, but the clowns are in charge and the elephants are asking for a transfer. Read the comment section of any video I've ever done about California and you will just see the hatred for California politics in those comments alone. Number 3, earthquakes. Earthquakes are a big thing in California. They always have been, and we've seen some pretty ugly ones over the years. I've lived through a bunch, and they've never seemed that bad to me because I grew up with them. But I know people from the Midwest, people from back east, they've experienced a few good earthquakes. And it shakes people right out of the state. They pack up and leave after a good one. I was living in Monterey at Fort Ord, California in 1989 when the Loma Prieta earthquake happened. That's the one that was famous. The World Series was going on and the earthquake happened. It was a good shake and, we're a good distance away. I started heading out of the building like we should, and I'm relatively calm. I saw guys that were from the Midwest and stuff. They were freaking out. These are guys that have been to war and half of them were like having tremors because of an earthquake. But yeah, that's one of the first things. People that have never lived in California, they talk about the earthquakes. And that's why they hate the state. They never live in the state because of the earthquakes. Number 2, the people. Yeah, one of the reasons people hate California is the people. And its reputation and stereotype, that's all it is. I mean, California does have a reputation for being rude, aloof, stuck up, think they're better than everyone else, and they have a reputation for being very fake. Now, these things didn't just fall out of the sky, and they're not just all made up. A lot of that goes on in California, especially around the bigger cities. When you get out to the more rural areas, those are just down-to-earth Americans like everyone else. But around the cities, there's a aura of fakeness. I've lived there. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've seen it. I know people like that. I grew up in a suburb of Los Angeles, and one thing that kind of fits into this is when I grew up there and my kids were going to school there, if you didn't wear the right clothes, I wouldn't say it was a problem, but you got a vibe about you and people might talk about you. That's how they do it in California. We moved up to Oregon, nothing like that. They didn't even care. A cute girl could go to school wearing her brother hand-me-down Levi's that are 3 sizes too big and a t-shirts with stains on it, and she would be treated just the same way a girl that came in a $400 outfit. It's just different. In California, it's kind of rough. Keeping up with the Joneses is a big thing in California. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called The Sweet Life for Briggs. There's a link for that down below. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, immigration issues. I know a lot of you were expecting to have this on here. Well, here you go. It is a big problem in California, and it's talked about all the time. It's talked about in the news, and a lot of people hate California because they think this is like the gateway to let in illegal aliens or whatever you want to call them. Undocumented workers, whatever. They're human beings looking for a better life. The downside is it does create problems to the country they're moving to, especially if they're moving to in mass, which they are. Thing is, they always have been. Sure, they have years where there's a lot more and then a few less. It's been going on since the 70s. But if you watch too much cable news or you listen to the wrong podcast, you think that this is a new problem. Now, it is a problem. It's just been going on a long time. And it's given California a bad reputation. It is something that needs to be fixed. Not just in California, in all the border states. California has a long and complex history with immigration, both legal and illegal, that continues to shape the state's demographics, economy, and politics. California has the highest number of immigrants in the United States, with approximately 11 million foreign-born residents, accounting for 27% of the state's population. Now, since they're undocumented, they're really not sure what the number is, but it's estimated to be about 2.3 million undocumented immigrants are living in California right now. California contributes an estimated $3 billion annually into the state and local to deal with undocumented immigrants. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.